Hi everyone, it's Lauren again. I wanted to bring up a subject that is not talked about much. I've had 4 children, and if I knew about it with my children, I don't recall it except for when I used to work. I had heard of this, but I never had a problem with it with my kids, and I didn't even think anything of it until I started the surrogacy process. Everybody knows that once you go through your in-depth pre-screen process, then you are hopefully then matched with IPs, and then you have your clinic day. Clinic day was great. We met with my IPs. We had the full clinic day, which went without a hiccup, and we flew home. And then a week later, we get a call from our nurse at the clinic saying that everything was fine and that both my husband and myself tested negative for cytomegalovirus. I know I probably butchered that, but it's something of that nature, and it's actually CMV. Most people know it as that, and I didn't really think anything of it. Then all of a sudden, my IP, who is wonderful, starts messaging me and emailing me about this. Who would have thought that being negative for something could potentially be so bad? What had happened is that both my husband and I are one of the rare, according to even our clinic said this, the 20% of the population, and you can Google CMV, and it is a virus that normally is not a big deal. It's like a cold in a person, and most people my age, as in 80% of the other population, have been exposed to it. The best terms that I think of when I think of this virus is like the chickenpox. I had chickenpox when I was little. I know that the chickenpox lies dormant in me. I have the immunity to it. CMV, not like chickenpox, but it is in the fact that once you get it, you obtain the immunity to it. Well, my husband and I are that 20% that is not immune to it. Never even crossed my mind. And actually, I was talking to a friend of mine that I used to work with, and we worked with people with disabilities, and she said, "Oh, do you remember so-and-so that was on my caseload? He had that." And then it made me think about it. And there was a teacher that was pregnant that did contract it, and they did some therapies and whatever, and her baby ended up fine. Basically, long story short, it is like a cold virus in someone like myself or a child. It goes along the lines with runny noses, runny eyes, whatever, anything typical of a cold. So most people don't even know that they have it when they contract it. But it can be very detrimental to an unborn fetus, and especially before the 22 to 24 mark. So basically, first trimester and then part of second trimester, you kind of get out of the woods, but there are therapies, and this was just something that I just kind of took with a grain of salt until my IP started messaging me, which it was great because we did lots and lots of research. Come to find out that it is more common to be positive for the virus and then negative. There are some surrogates out there that found out that they were positive for it at that moment, which just meant that they had the infection at times, so therefore they just would have to postpone their transfer or whatever their cycle was going. I'm the opposite. So we actually just went and got tested for it again because I do start my med cycle soon. So they just wanted to make sure that I'm still negative. And as far as the contract side, what we did was just put some extra precautions in it. It's pretty simple. Basically, just keep up good hygiene. I have extra hand washing protocols. I still have a child in diapers, so they've requested for me to wear gloves. It's not that difficult. I can do this. Same thing for my husband because he is also negative. This way there is a less heightened chance of us contracting it just by not following simple protocols, which we all wash our hands, we all take showers, we all clean, I disinfect my house. But those are just added precautions that were added to my contracts, which, in all scheme of things, I'm glad that it worked out. I'm glad we did extra research, but I just wanted the world to know that there are other things, and it's not something that people talk about, because I don't even remember if I was ever tested for it for my own 4 kids. I might have not. I always did the basic testing, but for me, it didn't matter. Not saying that this wouldn't matter, and I wouldn't try to do the protocols if I knew that I had contracted it. But I just never thought of it. So it's just kind of one of those things that I think people are starting to talk about. So just be aware that you could be basically negative, which is what I am. You could be positive but negative at the time, or you could be positive. All things are simple things to work through, and really CMV is just something that, the IPs, they want to take extra precaution. They are investing in you as a surrogate to have their child, and they want the best possible outcome without having to worry if they're going to have to make a decision, because it can be detrimental to the fetus. I mean, the kid that I was made aware of, again, I just forgot that he had it. I mean, he had significant disabilities. Not saying that is any less of a quality of life, but in some cases it could be. So it's not something to take lightly, but it's not something to be completely worried about. So I just want to give a little update on CMV, and I hope you guys found this informative.